We have a local legend in the studio right now, a man who has promoted local music better than probably, well, just about anyone, quite frankly. I'll actually let you do the introductions here, Brandon. Mate, who have we got?
Yes, we've got the infamous and the great Ian from the 6030, which is a very, very good pub. It's my type of pub, you know. It's just...
it's a pub, mate.
It's a proper pub, you know. It's not serving skinny lattes and, you know, guys with bloody beards. What's that? Exactly. Well... How this came about, normally we do the crypto show, and we are sort of doing more of the politics as well. We're just sort of getting that. We just recently had Avi Yemedi from Rebel News on, which was a very, very good conversation with him.
Was. Live from Gaza.
Yeah. Well, almost. Melbourne, pretty much the same shit. The socialist dystopia of Melbourne. So anyway, how this came about was I caught up with Ian. We've been sort of talking on and off for a while now, and caught up with him and had a lunch, and just caught up with his whole entire story. And then basically I was just saying off air just earlier, it was like him just talking for an hour non-stop, and me just like with my mouth open, like I knew little bits of the story, but I just wow, I did like, and the conversation we had before we went to air is like, where do we start? But you know, sort of a segue into it is. During the lockdowns and the whole insanity that happened, it affected a lot of people. Not just on a working class sort of people that's but also businesses in a big way. And there was a lot of businesses that stood up to the insanity that have suffered like horrendously. And we personally know some examples. Well, Ian's journey has been one for the ages. I think that someone needs to write a book about it, you know, like it's just full on.
Multiple books.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then we had the dilemma of where do we start? So I think the best place to start at most of the time is at the beginning, you know, so...
jeez.
Right, let's sort of start there. Is okay? When did they first sort of? When did the Eye of Sauron, first sort of focus on you as being one of the people that are not conforming?
Probably around 2015, 2016. It was. My venue is one of the working class, mainly male working class, middle age.
Yep.
And we had skimpies on a few times a week, and now I know people turn their nose up to skimpies, but you see a lot more out on the street, and you see more down the beach than what people can in a controlled licensed area for 18 plus. Yep. And a lot of these guys, they wanted to have skimpies who could free their breasts, so go topless. So we tried applying for a special license just late at night in a windowless room, and went through all the channels to be able to do that. And our notorious local representative, I don't forget his name, but I know he stole a lot of gold or had something to do with it. So,
right.
Anyway, allegedly.
Google that, people.
Yeah. So he stood up against it. Now, it originally started with a lady by the name of Pam Beggs, who had 52 signatures on a petition to overturn to stop skimpies statewide. And I'm friends with Natalie, who runs Perth Beth Girls, and we'd been talking about this and thought, right, we'll take it on and put the applications. And we were doing skimpy car washes to try and raise funds for legal fees. We put the application in, and it was basically laughed at and thrown out through Racing, Gaming and Liquor. So from that point, we appealed, where it went in front of a tribunal. And we had submissions. We had over 10,000 signatures, right, which I would have thought was a decent sample size, but the reasoning coming back was saying it wasn't a big enough sample size.
Really?
For the area. And people who go by the name of Robbo or Jono haven't got the intellect to be able to make a decision on whether they want skimpies or not. And this is a quote, what they're saying. It was in the paper as well. Yep. It was.
The Kitty Litter Times? Is that where it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. Yeah, exactly. So we went in front of this 3-person panel where I had legal representation to be able to do that.
Yep.
Numerous witnesses called forward, statements. We had to do all sorts of reports, increased flow of traffic, sound reports on human effect reports. We had to put flyers out for people to appeal. We had to write to local schools and churches. I mean, not that you'd see them there. You might see a few priests come, but
maybe they're too old for the priests.
But when the decision was handed down, we found out the 3 people sitting on the panel, 2 of them were public servants,
Yep.
and one of them was a female solicitor.
Okay.
The decision was 2-1 in favour of the government, and we spoke to the female solicitor who was on there, and she actually wrote a letter to us saying she voted for. The other 2 ignored every aspect of the law and were told what to vote before they
That's how it works.
before they went in. So she said in this letter, she suggested we go to the Supreme Court, and she said if you go to the Supreme Court, you'll win.
Okay.
So we put our application into the Supreme Court, and as soon as that went on, I think the government realised we were pretty serious about what we were going to do. So I got served with a notice where I was required to put $100,000 in a security fund for the government in case they won. So it's bad enough I'm already paying for their legal defence through my taxes, but
Sure.
I had to put $100,000 in. And as soon as I acknowledged and said I was going to go ahead with that, I had these random bettors at my agency, and this is where it gets really weird, and I'll explain to you afterwards. People coming in and placing large bets at the venue. When bets are over $10,000, you're required to fill out certain paperwork,
Okay.
which we had a kit, and I think we'd only seen one in about 5 or 10 years of the time I'd been there. So we had one form there. So we filled one out, but then they just kept recurring. Now, I wasn't at the venue at this time when it was happening. My staff rang up the TAB and said, look, this is what's going on. We need the paperwork. And they said, yeah, we'll email it through straight away. We continued to ring. 2 hours later, paperwork hadn't come through, even though we'd continued to ring and we'd taken photos of their licences and things like that. I came into the venue, found this person that was going on who had a considerable amount of cash at the time. I said, look, instead of floating it round, we'll sort of keep it balanced through out of security as it was. I left the venue. I was actually playing cricket that day, so I went off, played cricket.
Yep.
Bets continued for a few more days. Now, the odd thing is I got a phone call, I think it was on the Monday or the Tuesday.
Yeah.
This could have been on a Saturday, I think it was, saying, you've been betting at the agency, we're cancelling your TAB account. What? I said, I haven't been betting. What are you talking? And they said, yeah, we know you did it. We have proof. And I went, tell me when. And they said, well, there were ones on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it must have been Tuesday. They rang me. And I said, hang on a sec. You're saying yesterday? And they said, yeah. And I said, I'm in Melbourne. I flew into Melbourne Sunday morning. How could I have been placing these bets that you know I placed? And they said, oh, well, it might not have been you, but we know you were part of it. And I said, hang on. You just said it was you knew it was me.
Yeah.
Now you're saying I was part of it. So what proof? And they said, oh, it doesn't matter now. We've cancelled your TAB and you can't get it back. Now, the TAB are through the same agency that control liquor licences for topless.
Yeah.
So the way I was looking upon it was they're trying to hamstring me, so it's going to make me struggle to get funds to go through the courts in order to be able to go ahead and do this. So the TAB was gone out of the venue, and I continued to fight for it. Police coming in, just, continual harassments, but I wouldn't let it go. My locals had spoken to myself, people in the local area had spoken to myself, and I went, no, well, you've got to do what's right. My mother always brought me up and said, if you see a bully, you stand up to him and call him out straight away, regardless. You know, it's a good virtue to have. I believe it is anyway. So long story short, 2 years later, still without a TAB, and me getting lawyers and writing a sequence of events and getting all this proof and these submissions going forwards, they weren't having a bar of it until my solicitor passed it on. I believe I spoke to a barrister who then got involved to be able to go forwards. And my parents, who unfortunately have been long-time Labor supporters, because the government had changed during this time.
Okay.
So they'd got rid of the guy who won through default because no one liked the other one. What was his name? I don't know.
Hang on.
Barnett.
Barnett, yes.
That's the one.
Yes. The chair sniffer. Yeah.
Yeah, that was his deputy, wasn't it?
Oh, I've lost track. They're all,
Anyway.
Oh, that's right. You're right, Boswell. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So anyway, so they said, okay, we'll give you the TAB back on one condition, and that was that I removed myself as director, and my then partner at the time became director, which didn't seem too hard to do at the time.
Sure.
Until I spoke to my solicitor, who explained that as soon as I'm removed as the director and no longer there, all my applications through the Supreme Courts are dismissed because I'm no longer the representative of the firm, and you need to start everything all over again.
Look at the cost involved right there.
So that there would have cost me in excess. I mean, if you're looking at lost turnover and everything like that, it would have been close to $2 million.
Wow.
In lost revenue, but legal fees are over $250,000 and et cetera, et cetera. Now people say, well, you know, why didn't you just learn from it and give it up? But as I said before, but it became quite personal because I had children in state teams and state league teams during this time that were getting dropped from these teams because their surname was the same as mine that was affiliated with this type of stuff. My kid's school was getting phone calls suggesting that I'm inappropriate with children and I shouldn't be around children.
Unbelievable, mate.
These types, and these are the things I was hearing back coming through me. Luckily, teachers at the school had known me there, where my eldest son, who's 27 now, so he was year 11, year 12, would have been through, and my others. So I knew all the teachers through primary school and secondary school, and I'd done so many PP hours.
And this is affecting your kids, mate. That's the reality. Absolutely.
It's one of the first things that really started to damage my relationship with my children when my daughter was kicked off state league basketball team, state athletics teams. She was going over to Singapore and representing the country, where she won a gold and silver over there when she was 15 or 16, I think it was.
That's impressive.
My son was in a state league team, but all of a sudden, from these state league teams where they were playing first, they couldn't even get into the third or fourth teams, which tells you. And my daughter, who was in the state team, couldn't even get in a fourth or fifth div of the state league team.
Got to be
And straight away, and that's where then I started treating it like a dog with a bone and saying, right, it's all right to mess with me, but you mess with my family, and now it's all. Then it just became about clearing my name. So anyway, so that happened, and we started getting back on track, and then the great scamdemic started, where one thing I became reasonably good was I became quite good at spotting bullshit a mile away.
I think you've always been good at that, to be honest, mate. I've known you for a few years. You've got an eye for it.
So from that, I started doing a few things. At first, out of humour, out of jest. I mean, you may know me for my infamous menu that went round Perth and was on the news in the eastern states, and the Perth Lord Mayor even spoke and laughed about it.
Can you give us some highlights?
Oh, we had the crispy chicken pericarditis burger and the Bell's palsy special, and we had the what was it? The Premier cheating with a minister, ribs and chips, which I called it well before its time.
Oh, absolutely.
And, we had the bloodshot clots, the oysters in the Bloody Mary shots.
Nice.
So there was a few things like that, and
but you know what?
cold.
It all comes back to. Oh, no, it doesn't. I mean, it's many facets here, right? But okay, you've got a work person's, workman's pub, if you like, right?
Yeah, that's right,
working class pub, right? Mm-hmm. And there's resistance against this. Now, if you like skimpies or you don't like skimpies, you know how you vote?
Don't go.
Spot on, right? You don't go, right? And those girls have a right to make a living, right? And the opportunities they get from the income they make and all that kind of thing, this is a really positive thing. That's
I'll say this about the girls.
Yep.
Most of the girls are uni students.
Sure.
Yep.
That are coming in and they're working 3 hours and they're walking out with $500 to $600.
Fantastic.
So they do 2 shifts of that.
Yep.
They can spend more time studying, and some of them were studying medicine. A lot of them were studying law.
Okay.
Who were doing it? How ironic! Because that's just ridiculous. But they come in, they do a job, and our bar, in regards to skimpies, isn't where they're behind the bar and flaunting and being ridiculous. They're like stewards. They walk around, they have one-on-one chats with the guys and have fun. A lot of these guys are FIFO workers, and it's really the only interaction that they can have with females, because on site we all know the stories, what happens there, that
you say
a lot of males are too afraid to talk to females out there, and so anyway, this stuff happened, and then the infamous 9th of March 2021 happened, where I was at the venue, and I won't go into the detail because I'm not too sure about the legalities about this. A female came into the venue who bought drugs with her. Caught her with drugs. Long story short, I confronted her about it. She went off into the female toilets. I went the other way. There's footage of everything except in the toilets, of course, because that's for my private collection. No, just joking when I say that. Isn't
it ridiculous that you've got to actually give the disclaimer on that? Yeah, because everybody knows you're joking, mate. Of course. Yeah.
So anyway, so I make her tell me who she bought the drugs off, but she tells me who they're for. Instead, and I say, no, you've got to tell me who, because I can lose my liquor licence with this stuff going on in the venue. This crap just isn't acceptable. So anyway, so she tells me who they're for, and she walks out the venue with a big smile on her face and happy and waving at people as she walks out. And then I'm unsure who this particular person is, and I think I know, and I go and speak to people, and I was actually warned by one of my staff members earlier that day that someone was selling drugs in the venue.
Okay.
And she said a name, but I said I don't know who it is. And so I went up and said, yeah, you're right, and she pointed him out. This is probably about half an hour, 45 minutes afterwards. And then from that, I say to him, look, can we go sit outside?
Sure.
And so I go sit outside, and I'm about to discuss what happens when 3 people attack me from behind. So I ended up having my shoulder kicked backwards, needed a shoulder recon, a knee recon, broken ribs, fractured skull, numerous other things, needed stitches, and so I ended up going into hospital. Now, a police officer came in, and I thought, brilliant, to give a statement. They said, we're advising you, you're under arrest, because people knew who these ones were that assaulted me. And I said, what for? And they said, females accused you of raping her. And I went, what the hell? This is ridiculous. And I went, no. And they said, and we've shut your venue down. It's a crime scene. So anyway, so that went through, and as they do, they try and push for a statement, but I was wise enough to say, look, I'm not saying anything. And then anyway, so I got out in the morning and rang my solicitor and said, what the hell's going on, and explained to him, and he just said, well, look, you have upset a few people along the way. So just to fast track through it all, so we had footage of the 3 people that assaulted me. 2 of them were on bail. One of them wasn't, and the one that wasn't is the only one who got charged with common assault. The other 2 didn't get charged with anything.
How does that work?
Everyone who's seen the footage has said that's GBH, straight up. Now, it was the same officers.
Now, hang on, GBH.
Grievous bodily harm.
Spot on. Okay.
Same officers that charge me are the same officers that charge them out of Clarkson branch, which And Clarkson Branch, which I know you've been there.
I have.
They raided my venue, at an estimate, I'd say about 30 times in a 14, 15-day period, with at times up to 20 police officers coming through.
What were they looking for, Bin Laden?
They were looking for the infamous unvaccinated people.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah, okay. That those charlatans of society.
Yes.
Yes.
Or they were coming in wanting to see vaccination status reports that they were saying we were obligated to keep, which I was frankly saying, no, I'm not their treating medical practitioner. I have no authority to do
As we
such
all know,
thing.
there's a 1988 federal law, and I'll reinforce that says you actually can't ask people
Yeah,
their
about their
private
medical
information
condition. That's
exactly
right.
about their
It's
medical.
between you and the fucking doctor.
Yeah, and it was put in place way back then because of AIDS, right? Because obviously there was discrimination because of AIDS, so it was put up there for that reason.
Yep.
All these years later, it's been weaponised. So, no, mate, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, obviously everyone's got a different opinion. My thoughts are you're respecting people's privacy, right?
Exactly.
So
I
just
thought it
repeat
was.
that. It's 30 times in a 2-week period.
I've got it all diarised. I've got the dates, the number of times they came, what they were doing, what they were requesting, saying no action taken, no action taken, no action taken. There was one of the times, and look, I can tend to be I can be cheeky at times, which I'm sure some of us can, but when people really start to press your buttons, you want to bite back, and when these badge-wearing public servants, which is what they're meant to be, and I think they forget that they're meant to be public servants, come in and try and bully and intimidate. As I said earlier, I don't cope well with bullies. There was a particular female officer that used to come through, and she wasn't wearing a mask, and she was refusing to show her vaccination status when questioned.
Right.
And the senior constable, who was always with her, said no, she's not required to, which I said, well, look, if that's the case, and then they said, have you been vaccinated? And I said, that's none of your business. You're not my treating medical practitioner. And they said, no, we're obliged to know. And they said, have you been vaccinated? So I looked at her. Oh, no, they said they wanted to see my vaccine status report. And so I looked at her and said, well, I'd like to see your pap smear results, please.
Seems fair.
And they...
You're not cheeky at all, mate.
No. So... But it was the time that was towards the end. That was round the time of when we had the fundraiser for what was the first one we did? I think it was nurses. That's right. And there was a UFC fight on that day as well. But anyway, getting back to the other story, where one person got charged. So it took police 6.5 months to ask me to come in and give an interview for something that I'd supposedly done, which...
So serious crime, mate.
Exactly. I mean, my solicitor was saying, this is ridiculous, it shouldn't go anywhere, but he also said because it's a fashionable crime at the time, they can't be seen to be letting some such thing go through to the keeper. And then during that time, what the government has done is they put a prohibition order on myself where they banned me from working for 2.5 years. They banned me from going into my own licensed premises, working or any licensed premises in the state of Western Australia.
Or any... Yeah. Under what grounds?
Because I was a risk to the public. It was basically under the grounds because a female with a known addiction problem and a known liar to the police who was previously given false statements of such threw this accusation at me. So therefore I was a risk to society. So I was guilty till I could prove my innocence.
And this is where the whole system has fallen over. Now I'm going to throw in on this as far as the whole... Now, you talk about it being a fashionable crime, effectively, before, okay? And the reason why police won't do things is because, of course, this is through the Me Too, believe women, okay? Now, the fact of the matter is you shouldn't really be believing anyone. You should believe evidence.
Exactly.
And this whole principle that somebody is guilty and you're going to destroy their life, and it's happened on... anybody who's stood up to the system, basically, they've gone and attacked them this way. It's happening right now with Russell Brand, okay?
Lawfare.
It is warfare, absolutely, yeah. So this is the weaponisation of the justice system.
So, yeah. So I was banned for that period of time, which then I had to get lawyers and barristers to be able to defend.
Yep.
So you couldn't, do me straight, you couldn't walk into your own pub.
Couldn't walk into any pub.
And you couldn't walk into any pub.
Any restaurant, any cafe, any theatre,
license.
any sporting event, anywhere.
You've got to be joking. And you who decided that?
It was put forwards by the Minister of Racing, Gaming and Liquor.
The Minister of Truth.
So, yeah, it was. And then
did it go up to a jury? Was there
no,
any backwards and forwards?
It's a government body where they appoint 3 panellists.
Yeah.
Who told this? It's the same type of panel that I found with the topless.
Yep. Yeah.
And what they wanted, and what my barrister advised me, which on hindsight was wise, they were pushing this through because they wanted to find out what my defence would be in the criminal charge.
Okay. Gotcha.
So then they could prepare for it. And they said, no, and we're just pointing out all sections of the law. So anyway, they found me guilty of being a risk to society. Or not guilty, but they granted the prohibition order.
Sure.
Which I'll interject here now and say that because of this, I was found not guilty for the rape charges, but I've spoken to numerous lawyers and I've spent copious amounts of money on lawyers because in my mind and in the common man's mind, you would think if you're banned from earning income based on a lie that's been proven to be a lie, I should then be compensated for losing my income by the people that enforce that upon you. But all the lawyers I'm speaking to are running away from it and saying, no, you can't, because they were doing it because you were a potential risk to the public, which, as I had, which was proven to be false.
That's right.
So the fact that I lost out on 2.5 years' worth of income and my business had its leader taken away and was stalked, harassed, tormented by not just the Clarkson Police Branch, but other branches as well. They're saying there is no case to answer, which I think is absolutely ludicrous. So I'd go in and you have consults with lawyers after lawyers who then you go along and do things. But during this time, because of my assault, I had workers' comp because I was working at the time I was assaulted, which they paid the first 3 or 4 weeks of this. This is where I need to be quite delicate because it's
Then be delicate.
No, it hasn't been signed off. But they were balking at paying me, where it was only a meeting a week and a half ago. Where instead of me getting the full funds of potential $250,000, which is the maximum, they offered considerably less. Now, this is a publicly listed insurance company by the name of QBE, who my understanding is had spent over $300,000 on barristers, on private investigators, on lawyers, on people to trail me, on all these reports.
Right.
On some, this is before it went to trial, on something that was a maximum payout of $250,000, of which they said they would contest it all the way, and then when I won, they would object and appeal it again. Now, this is shareholders' money.
That's right.
That they are blowing on something because they had a bee in their bonnet. They backed themselves into a corner. And I also have an email from them.
This is all hypothetically too.
Yeah, it is.
Right, that this is,
Everything's
just in case. All right.
Oh, look,
I don't want you to get into trouble, because...
Oh, look, it's
conjecture. Well, it's the way that you're viewing it, basically.
And what I heard directly. And I've seen emails between the legal firm that were representing them and the DPP asking for information between an ongoing district court trial and them getting passed between the two parties, which is illegal to do.
Right.
So it's almost coercing.
Look, I actually want to throw something in on that. You've mentioned the Clarkson Police a few times there. Now, what's right around the corner? Like literally, throwing distance from the Clarkson Police.
Oh, what was over the road during the time?
No, not that. I'm going to go this way. Mr. John Quigley's office.
That's over the road.
Okay.
On the corner, other
It
corner.
certainly is. Now, John Quigley, of course...
Was his office. He's now moved.
Oh, has he? Okay. Sorry, I drove past it just the other day. I saw his head still out on the front, but there you go. Okay. With that man, who is effectively our top lawman in this state, okay, is the Attorney General of Western Australia, that man who went into a federal court, actually, I shouldn't say federal court, I don't know. High Court. Thank you very much. And committed perjury. Our top lawyer in this state committed perjury and was able to just give his evidence again when he remembered things, when it was conversations between himself about, say, Clive Palmer, for argument's sake, and obviously conversations with our then Premier, Mr. Footloose himself, McGowan. All right? Now, I'm really getting very, very sick and tired of one law for me and one rule for thee, right? One law for thee. And this is very much a case, I mean, I'll tongue-in-cheek say, none of this passed the pub test, all right?
Yep.
Okay? And this is the problem. Everyday Aussies, people who go to work, look after their family, pay their taxes, do the right thing, want to have a bloody beer on the weekend, whatever. We are all being ignored and pushed around by these elites, and it's got to stop. And the sad thing is we're seeing that just about every institution is
been hijacked.
Spot on. Now, look, I mean, I don't know everything in your story, mate. I certainly have seen enough from the outside looking in, and I see, and this is my opinion, utter corruption at every possible stop.
Well, this is what, talk about passing the pub test.
Yeah.
It literally was when we had a conversation in his pub and he was telling me, I'm just like, this is just not fucking right. There's a lot going on here.
Spot on.
So, but there's so many moving parts. It's not like it's one individual. Or is it one individual that is influencing and controlling?
Well,
and then the major question would be, why you? Why have they just sort of focused in on you? Is it because you and then got so many departments involved and different levels of law and stuff, man?
Well, I swear when I tripped over a Chinaman and accidentally kicked a black cat as I fell under a ladder and smashed into a mirror that time, it had nothing to do with it. But
sidekicked a unicorn.
Here's my thought. Here's the problem. Right? You were actually standing up, okay, and being accountable for what was going on. And you had a very large following of people who supported you, right?
Yep.
Certainly your ideology. In some ways they certainly weren't very supportive, and we can go there if we need to. The fact of the matter is, because you were a central figure and a lot of people believed in what you were doing, they had to take you down. You were the tall poppy.
You were the
had to be taken
example
down.
for everyone
Exactly
else
right.
to go, hey, listen, if we can do that to this guy...
Oh, look at the
chance
fear
have you
there.
got?
Fear controls, right?
Yep.
And by basically going after you, they scared the life out of tens of thousands of West Aussies.
And a lot of business owners too.
Oh, damn right. So, look, whatever side you're on, the reality is that we've got a right to open our business. We've got a right to
Earn a living.
Mate. Yep. Exactly right. We've got a right to our privacy. I look at this area, and every corner now seems to have a bloody security camera, right? It's for our safety, of course.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Including directly across from my house, which is just interesting in itself, right? Seeing I live in a cul-de-sac and I'm the only house there, but that's just very strange. It's just this has got to stop, and people need to stand up against it. Now, again, the fear factor here is because you stood up against it, people are, they're scared. They're going, hang on, look what they've done to you. They've come after you. But the most important thing we all have to do is stand up and say no. It's a simple bloody word.
Yep.
Right? I am so... Look, I'm sitting here actually, great. I've got a lot of anger. A lot of anger. I'm holding it back. Because good people are being compromised and being used and abused by a small minority who just, quite frankly, have lust for power.
Yep.
Right? And, we've just had our Premier who a couple of months ago, he, parted ways because he was overworked apparently and all kind of carry on. Well, now he's got 5 separate jobs and $250,000 a year pension that we are paying.
But he works for BHP, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, he's got 5 gigs on the go.
Yeah, Aren't they looking after the area that they took off Clive Palmer?
Oh, I think
BHP, isn't it? It's something like that.
And
yeah.
I don't want to sort of go into other sort of tangents here, but let's cut the crap. Okay, McGowan changed the law retrospectively to actually protect himself
And his good friend Quigley.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. Absolutely spot on. I can't get over the fact that this is being allowed to happen, and it basically
And it's completely transparent.
Of
It's
course.
not as like it's been hidden.
It's because our justice system is owned, right? Is absolutely owned, and the police in this state, of course, there's good coppers out there. There's good people out there, right? But the reality is that we're seeing the DPP works and functions for those up the ladder. It's got to stop. Got to stop.
Yep, 100%.
Well, a couple of other examples. So I got fined $1,000 for urinating in my own toilet.
Well, you animal. Yeah.
By these same police that I believe they were tracking me because I just pulled up to my venue.
Sure.
Spoke to some staff outside, walked to the toilet, and as I walked out, this is when we had about 20 police officers show up.
What a surprise.
Who were part of liquor enforcement, and I think it was 3 or 4 different groups that did this. So I was putting it off, and I wrote a submission quoting all these areas of the law they'd breached and saying I wasn't, not following a state of emergency, whatever rubbish or whatever it was they put on there. So I got a medical certificate that said I was unable or unfit on the day. So the judge at the time, Judge Zemplis, at Joondalup Court, went ahead and found me guilty anyway, even though I had a medical certificate. So what the police officer said, because I went and objected, and he said this, so it's in transcript, he rang my doctor up, and he made my doctor tell him what my symptoms and what my condition were.
Wow.
So, and I tried to get it set aside, and she said, no, look, you're guilty. If you want to appeal it, you can take it higher. It's out of my jurisdiction. So I put a complaint into the police about saying he's got no right to be doing this. And this same doctor who was treating me, because what the judge said was I needed to go back and say I was unfit for court, because the general terminology isn't fine. They say if you're unfit for work, but you're still right for court, which is rubbish. So I went back, and this doctor said, no, I'm not seeing you. I refuse to see you because the police officer rang up, threatened me with my licence, threatened this. No, I'm not seeing you anymore. So that's...
You know what? Again, for your safety and your health, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right.
Comes first.
So I put this complaint in, and they said, no, there's nothing untoward here, nothing to be seen. That's fine. The police officer's allowed to do that. And this was all in written form. And then there was another time I was sitting at home that I mentioned to you earlier. I'm sitting there having my dinner, and all of a sudden there's a bang at the door. And in come 2 police officers, bail me up, saying, where's your rifle? I'm going, what are you talking about? I'm eating dinner. And they go, no, where's your rifle? I'm going, I was eating my dinner. And they go, no, where's your rifle? You were effing this and that, standing on the balcony pointing a gun at someone. I said, no, I was eating my effing dinner.
Yep.
There it is over there, and they're going bullshit. And this guy starts walking through my house and going through things, this police officer. And then the other one lets me go because he's got me pinned up against a wall.
Joking.
And anyway, and I'm going, what? And one goes out on the radio and he's talking to someone, and he goes to the other one, oh, it's not here. And they walk out and I go, how about an apology? And they just told me to go F myself.
Yep.
They're doing police business. And so I go to walk out and I say something again, and they say another word and you're under arrest.
Wow.
So this is an apartment complex that they've got to be scanned to get up to be allowed to get in.
Okay.
And then, then there was another time where my door got kicked in.
These are public servants.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
But this is a different police branch.
Of course. Yeah. I'm not surprised.
So this is the type of thing that I was dealing with, and also part of the reason I was getting out of the country for a bit, because when you're dealing with this stuff continuously, I mean, they banned me from work where they were trying to get me there, so they couldn't do it. So then they started harassing me at home.
Yep.
And this trial that went on for nearly 2.5 years, or for it to get there, I went to court over a dozen times where they said they weren't ready because they hadn't prepared their evidence. It's because they didn't have evidence, but they were just milking it on and milking it on, and they would. So I had to have a solicitor show up every time to be able to stand there for them to say they're not ready. So that for these alleged rape charges, which the jury were laughing at this female who was giving testimony.
Really?
She showed up with over 50 scabs on her face and a twitch and lots of weight, where she was actually questioned whether she had taken drugs at lunchtime or whether she was off her face at the time. By
Ian, believe women, okay?
Yeah.
It's all that matters.
Oh, no, it was a female who actually asked her whether she'd done it. So there we go. So I'm believing her. Where two of the other people that gave statements have told me that they know she was lying.
Yeah.
But the police won't do anything about it.
No, of course not. No. Look, I won't go into it and won't waste anyone's time, but I can tell you I have an absolute catalogue of false statements that have been made, okay, that police go and that it goes through the channels, proven in court, right, to be a lie, and the police never actually do a thing. Now, it is an offence to make a false statement.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to go, and I'm sorry I'm going to keep going on the jugular because I think this is really important, right? Because I know he's about to retire at the next election. But John Quigley, okay, has actually told the police to not pursue perjury in this country, in this state rather, to only pursue 2 cases per year so that they can say that they've got multiple cases that they're following up, because multiple's 2, right? So 2 out of the thousands of cases of perjury, they only go after 2. There's all about the underage offenders, all that sort of thing carry on. This hierarchy that's going right now, especially here with the West Australian Labor Party, this is cronyism of a level I've never seen before, or maybe we just weren't aware of it before the Wu flu. Who knows?
Maybe, but I've got, when we had this fundraiser, it's when police came up to myself and they advised me they were on body cam, and Scotty from Scorpion Media, he has it on camera of them saying it was on body cam, and I requested a copy of this body cam footage, which they said doesn't exist, funnily enough, where the senior constable of Clarkson, the uniformed one, said to me that a senior political minister has said to put my venue on high alert and do what they can to make life difficult, and if they can, shut us down.
Yep.
That's what he said to me, with 3 other police officers there.
Wow. Well, I wonder why you can't get that camera footage, eh? Unbelievable.
Because I would have called him on the stand and made him say who it was that told him.
Sure.
So, did you just upset God? Like, like you got senior ministers.
No, mate. This is what happens when an everyday bloke, right, who cares about everyday people, right, stands up and says no. This is the thing. They make a bloody example of you. They go after you and they destroy you for all you're worth, right?
Yep.
Because, oh my God, you can't have the common people being represented. You can't have. It's this.
But how did
hierarchy.
How did it get on the senior minister's desk?
Because I'd written a menu, which I had something called Quigley's Gold,
right?
Which was a beer we were putting on special. No, Smuggler's Thief. It was something like that, but it was a gold, so it was a mid-strength, and it was, he was quoted in that, and then the ex-premier was quoted in it, and lots of interesting facts, as in side effects through the COVID jab.
Yeah, so just. God, whatever happened to an Australian sense of fucking humour?
Oh, exactly right.
It's just
exactly
if
right.
you can't look at that and just laugh and go, well, yeah, it might be offensive to me for a little while, but that's pretty clever.
But the Aussie way, right? What we used to absolutely just love, right? The Paul Hogan, part of life.
Take the piss.
Absolutely,
and
right?
that is the ethos of my pub. It is
Spot
a
on,
working
mate.
class, take the piss pub.
We come in every week, mate, and you and I pull the piss out of each other every single week, right? And I do with pretty much everybody who's on the show. Why? Because that's part of Australian culture.
It's a sign of affection.
Absolutely. And if they are trying to take this away, they are trying to sanitise Australians.
Humourless fucking drones.
Yeah. It's not on, mate.
Well, I mean, one of the things someone said to me, interestingly enough, the other day, they said, there's no other pubs really left like yours.
That's right. That's right.
In the metro area.
I'm pretty sure that
because there was someone who spoke to me a couple of weeks ago who was going to look at. He was interested in buying the pub, where he just contacted me out of the blue in regards to it, and he's got a couple of venues round, and he said he's basing his models based on what I'm doing.
There you go. Well, because it's a big part of the market that's just being just forgotten now, right? You go to the pub now, and I feel like I've got to dress up. You know, I feel like I've got to get. No. You should be able to drop in, have a beer, have a laugh, right? Great music in the background. You are, as I say, a great supporter of local music, which just doesn't happen to
Original music.
Original music, exactly right.
It's free pool.
Yeah.
Right? You can go out into the beer guard area and actually have a beer and have a cigarette.
Hang on, what's that?
You know?
What's that?
Yes, that's right.
It's not that thing you plug in, charge. But no, I mean, even most recently, I mean, people have said to me, "Oh, if I had my time again, would I do it again?" Well, I think this latest No campaign is proof of that, where I put something up where if you vote no, I'll buy you beer, which all the extreme lefties were terrible reviews and sending me personal things, and then I had the Australian Electoral Commission get onto me trying to say I'm interfering with it, and then I had liquor enforcement getting onto me saying that they will take my licence, and it's just...
And you know what? Australia spoke, the other week. We've said we've had enough of this rubbish. The everyday Aussie stepped up and said, I've had enough of this trying to separate us by colour.
After all their propaganda, after all the mainstream media, pushing their agenda, we still absolutely said
Well,
no.
that's what I said to the Australian Electoral Commission. I said, I'm not trying to buy a vote. I'm saying... if you vote no, I'll do it. Then I ask the question, well, what about the Australian Labor Party that is spreading misinformation? Why don't you go after them? And what they said to me was, if it's a paid ad, you can. You can say what you like if they pay, but they need to approve it first.
Okay.
And I wonder who funds the Australian Electoral Commission. But that's what they said, and I've got all these emails backwards and forwards from them. So,
and this goes through society at every level, right? Back in the day when I was operations manager of 89.7, the radio station up in Joondalup, which is supposed to look after Joondalup, Wanneroo, Stirling, that area. I actually literally got heavied about the fact that you will play the COVID advertising. You will push all of this. Even they didn't want to pay for it, I might add, right? And there were threats made on our position and keeping our station alive if we didn't do it. Now, the Labor Party should not be stepping in to a community organisation. It shouldn't be partisan, right? But that's exactly what they did. And they used, in this case, the funding from the City of Wanneroo, the City of Joondalup and the City of Stirling. It's absolute rubbish.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Well, Ian.
So that's some of the stuff that's happened. There's
scratching.
It's a quiet week.
There's quite a bit of stuff that happened. I mean, from it, I lost my marriage. I lost my children over my stance. But at the end of the day, if you want to make the world a better place for your children, which is what you do, you've got to call this stuff out. And
hey, mate, weak men make hard times, right? Just remember that. And standing up, and this is something I actually want to put out there as well. I've got a very mixed group of people that I spend time with, right? Now, some people absolutely love your pub, and some people hate your pub, right? And they feel the same way about you. But that's the great thing about the world, mate. You can make your choice. All right?
Exactly.
Okay, and you should be able to have that choice. Now, if you want to go to a workers' pub, you've got every right to go there and get your bloody palmy, have a beer and have a good time, right?
Yep.
If you want to go la-di-da, go la-di-da, right? You've got personal choice. This is being taken away, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, 100%. It's where I spend my money and what I spend it on. It's no concern of anybody's, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a pub that the pool table's free.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you can just go shoot to pool with the lads. It's got sport on everywhere. It's got skimpies. It's got the food's great. The atmospheres are awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
and one of the things I hang my hat on. It's one of those places where you can go and order a meal, and you don't want to stop at Macca's on the way home because you got a doggy bag with extra food there because you couldn't get through it. It's
a proper pub meal.
Yeah,
Spot on, mate.
exactly.
Yeah, spot on. All right. Well, I'm going to find an apt song to finish this show on. Now, normally we'd have breaks, we'd do all sorts of things, but quite frankly, I wanted to hear as much of your story as we could get.
100%. But just closing out. And I know we got to hit the number.
No, mate,
but,
you go for it.
All right. So, what are we going to do about this? You know, like, do you need to raise funds for, you know, because they're basically just sending you broke, right?
Yep. Yeah, you could say that. It's so through this stuff, and I'm not going to go on about things, but during the time when I had money, I was constantly giving food away. I was giving cash away. I was
charities.
Whether I paid for a whole heap of shirts to get printed, and all proceeds were going to people. There was. I mean, when I had it, I gave it. I did expect things would stop, but this continual stuff has gone on.
Yep.
And as I mentioned before, it's left me personally in a position I haven't been in since I was a student. Before, and I'm
going to interject. Your generosity and the way you looked after people who were struggling.
Yep.
I remember right now when people just didn't have food, right? Simple as that. They'd lost their jobs because of because of their stance, the fact that they didn't want to take an experimental jab, right? And this fella here made sure they ate.
Yep.
Okay? It's that bloody basic. And if you can't support someone who's done that, then there's something wrong with you.
Well, this is the conversation we had, like pre-air and all that sort of stuff as well, is out of all these people that stood up and took it on the chin and all that sort of stuff, you know, where are these people supporting them now?
It's just not happening. And I
had all these protests of tens of thousands of people rocking up. Where are they now? They're going back to their jobs. It's just back to normal, back to being sheeple, you know?
Well, it's a great shame because, you know what, we could have used this as an incredible learning opportunity, right?
Yep.
But, okay, I know you didn't do this because you were expecting anything back, but I know this, that you, as I say, you kept a lot of people with food on their table, mate. You kept a lot of people with a lot of hope in their hearts.
Yep.
And to see you not supported has, well, quite frankly, it's broken my bloody heart.
Yep,
it really has.
Exactly. So we're going to try to raise some awareness for the support,
Definitely.
but also any lawyers out there.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Get in touch. You know, like if you just want to really just do the right thing because that's what you're qualified for.
Yep.
You know, like just fucking find a better cause than this.
Yeah.
You know,
do the right thing.
Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah.
You
Straight
know.
up.
So yeah, get in touch. I suppose, I don't know how you get in touch. Just probably get on Ian's 6030 website.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've got a contact
on
there somewhere.
I've got one for now.
Right.
Website.
That's right. We're working on
Well, I was
the
about to
website.
say, okay, you can go to the edgeradioaustralia.com.
Yes.
Okay.
There you
now,
go.
edgeradioaustralia.com, literally, 6030 spot will come up there about every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Click onto that. That'll get you straight onto their website and you can contact them. Go through the Facebook page, whatever. Just do it. Don't be a passenger. Don't expect anyone else to do this.
Yep.
Get off your butt and actually help.
Yep, 100%.
All right.
All right. Thanks for your time, Ian.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Stay strong, everybody.